Friday lives. What we're doing is just sort of keeping people abreast of just some random things we're doing on cars. I've got a couple I want to talk to you about, and for this, if I can get you, Chris, you got a minute?
Yeah.
So this is a 51 Ford Deluxe, Ford Special.
Yeah. It's
a Ford Special, and we found out it's a little bit more special than we thought, wasn't it?
She's very special.
She's a very special girl. So if you want to come in here, Ashley, if you can get in a little bit closer, and I don't have a light, and I know you hate my light. All right, so I'm going to ask Ashley because she hates my light, and I don't know why she hates my light, because I love it. So I'm just going to point out a few things, and then this has been our challenge so Tim at FatMan did Tim and the guys of FatMan did a beautiful chassis for us, but how quickly did it bolt up to this body?
Well, he sent us a nice, well-fitting, nice and square chassis, and now we're trying to put a car that is the farthest thing from square.
So we are using the chassis as our start point,
yes,
and then making the body fit the chassis rather than vice versa, because I don't believe two wrongs ever make a right.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make them happy together so that they'll, you know.
All right, so the transmission tunnel, why did we replace it?
Because it was like a patchwork, you know what I mean? It was about 10 different little pieces in that one spot.
Yeah, it was just a train wreck of a project, right?
Yeah, it was
scabs on top of scabs on top of scabs, and that's just not a good way to go forward, because you don't know when one of the scabs is going to come loose from one of the other scabs, and then you're stuck. So
we pulled the Band-Aid off, and that's why we have that hole.
So we had to rip that out because it was so bad. But even here, I just want to point out that, you know, this body has to mount there, and then there's other points too, right? Fore and aft of here.
Yeah. There's 4 more back there, and there's 4 more up there.
Okay, so hang on. That's 8 plus. I'm just gonna do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 14 plus 8. There's 22 points that this car mounts. How many of the 22 mounting points lined up the first time we tried to line up this
4.
car? 4 out of 22.
And it wasn't the corners either.
So that's been our challenge. This is one of those cases where we're trying to basically preserve as much of the man's legacy as we can.
This was his father's car.
While at the same time bringing it into the 21st century, and that's an interesting balancing act, folks. It isn't something that's simple.
And this car, the reason we brought it in this is because we were going to un-Chevrolet it, and go back to the Ford engine transmission combination. But because of that, there's nothing we could use from nothing.
Right. The chassis was not worth saving. The engine was a Chevy engine. The transmission Chevy. Was the differential a GM 10 bolt?
No, it was an 8-inch out of a Mustang or something.
Okay, an 8-inch. What's your thoughts on an 8-inch?
8-inch is all right if you got a 6-cylinder.
Okay, that's just it. They're a super low performance rear end. Good if you're only putting 200 horsepower into it or less. Yeah. But not really above that. So we're basically giving him an all Ford. So that was his number one concern, was get Chevy out of my Ford and put all Ford back, and that's what we're doing. But then the other thing we're doing is actually making it work. And so this is one of those cars that's been difficult, right? Because every step we've taken.
Exactly. This car has it's even fought us on things that should have been just run-of-the-mill everyday things. Yeah. And this car has not. I mean, we had hidden bolts. You can see.
Yeah, there's a perfect
body
example.
Bolts are hidden behind.
So we've got
a seat bracket.
A steel structure for a seat. That seat was never designed to fit in here. The seat brackets were never designed. And whoever did it just welded the brackets over the top of the bolts. So we couldn't even find the bolts. It
was actually welded to the bolt on this side.
to the bolt, okay. So that's been our challenge with this car, is we had 2 problems. We had to un-Chevy it, but we also had to unscrew it. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm using the politest term as I can for them.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah. There are some practices that some people will do themselves that we will not.
Right.
And
some of those are some of these.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's go look at the Mustang. So folks, I'm going to take you over now to a car that came in here as a nice car.
Need to bring this down. Need to bring this down.
I don't know. I think you're fine. Okay. Overall, folks, this was a fairly well-built car. The bodywork on it was beautiful. The man who owned it just loves this car. He's owned it for decades. Very good dude. But when we drove it, it drove like crap.
It drove terrible. It locked up the brakes. It wouldn't hold the road.
It didn't stop right. It didn't steer right. It didn't accelerate right. It didn't turn right. It made noises. And so from a construction point, what is your thoughts on the basic structure of this car? The unibody structure, the floor pans, the rockers?
All the things that we never get to work with are good on this car.
Yeah, so we brought in, I would consider this a car where the bones were beautiful. Some of the attaching things that went on the bones were a little rough. Now, at this point, what brakes have you gone with and why?
These are the upgraded. If you bought high performance brakes from Ford, from the factory, this is what you got. This 4-piston, this is one of the reasons why they didn't have to run power brakes, because they put a good enough brake to operate without the extra power involved.
And why couldn't you put power brakes on a 64.5, 5 or 6 Mustang?
The shock tower is really in the way.
There's no room,
There's
right?
just no space for it.
Yeah. So these cars were not offered by Ford with power brakes. So if you're going to go disc, which disc do require a higher, they require a higher hydraulic force than a disc brake, than a drum brake.
Yes.
So when you go to disc, you have to go to a good disc.
Yeah.
And so we've got the original drum brakes that came off this.
Yeah.
And we're going to a 4-piston. What do you think? Are we going to have good brakes with a 4-piston?
You know, one of the things that the old drivers that raced these cars back in the day really liked is that these have a good feedback to the driver. Where sometimes that's lost with power brakes. You just get sort of like an easy pedal, and it's hard to judge how close you are to the edge.
Sometimes you're locking it up, and sometimes you're not, and you can't really tell the difference.
You can't really tell. So manual brakes give you that.
So one of the things that to me is very important when you get in a car, I don't care if you've got 800 horsepower, if it doesn't handle, it doesn't stop, it doesn't turn, and it rattles, is 800 horsepower anything to brag about?
Only at the show when you're sitting next to it in a chair.
When you get in to drive that car, it's going to suck. So what really has to come together when you get in a car is when you strap one of these things on your back and you take it out for a ride, you want to be able to finish the ride and go, I can't wait to do that again.
That's right.
I don't care whether I'm going to the convenience store for a soda, for shopping, or going out on cruise night. You want to get back in the car, and that requires a lot of things work right, right?
Everything has to work right for a car to be fun.
Yeah. They have to feel good when you strap them on your back, and so this is one of those where we're staying as close to original for the client because that's what he wants. Yeah. So we're going to go 4-piston. There are some systems we could go power brakes, but he doesn't want that because he wants the original high performance feel of what this car would have been like back in the 60s. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, if this thing would have rolled down the line to go to Shelby International, it'd have had these brakes on.
Yeah. All right, so folks, this is the first car we talked about. We're taking a Ford, making it all Ford, and trying to give the best feel that we can. Because how did that car feel when you strapped it on your back when it first came in?
Oh, that thing was terrifying to drive.
It was so bad that even 25 miles an hour around the block was a scary, horrible experience.
Yeah. It was okay if you were going straight, but if you wanted to turn left or right,
at all.
It got really sketchy.
And I would argue that it was only good straight if there was no bumps, no speed bumps, no ruts, no nothing in the road. Yeah. A perfect, smooth, straight road at 25 miles an hour, it was an okay ride.
Yeah.
Anything else, it was horrible, right? Yeah. So we're going to make that into a really nice car. We're going to make this into an original, high-performance, handling, 1960s Mustang product, right?
Yeah.
So which is your favorite car to work on? Which car do you prefer to work on?
I really like this pony car.
Okay.
This is really my speed. Fastback Mustangs are really.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car, folks.
It is a beautiful car.
All right, so what are we gonna do with the yellow car though, with the 51? We're gonna turn it into a beautiful car.
Yeah, we're gonna make that a cruiser.
Yeah.
She's gonna be a boulevard hero. You know what I mean? When it's riding down the road and everybody else is, driving slow, you're gonna be able to drive that one fast.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a cruiser.
Yeah. All right, folks, so thank you for joining us for another FantomWorks Friday. Today was really just about making improvements in a logical sense. Don't go put a little tiny beer can size power booster on this car, because what's your thoughts on that?
Leave the S10 brakes off your Mustang.
Thank you.
Okay? Leave the S10 brakes off your Mustang. They sell them on eBay. They're cheap. I get it. Shout out to Lead. Lead Brakes supplied these, and I have to say that every part they supplied me fit like it was supposed to.
Outstanding.
So I would definitely buy this kit again, and if we have to do this again, I'm going to buy the exact same kit I bought this time.
All right. You heard it right here, folks. And Chris, that's the first time I've ever heard you give a shout out, I think. That's awesome.
Yeah,
so
I was
that
super
means
impressed. They're on.
That means something. All right. Stay with us, and we'll see you again next Friday. Please remember to do all those things, the like, subscribe. It really does help. It takes you 2 seconds, and it helps us a lot.
Comment which one's your dream car.
Which one's my dream car?
No, ask them to comment.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's a great idea. So, folks, look, the 51 Ford, it doesn't look great right now because it's missing all the sheet metal, and it's just sort of a thing in pieces. But it was an era coming out of World War II where that was Ford's first completely new car coming out of the war.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's why that's a pioneering car. And why is this a pioneering car? Because Ford figured out that all the baby boomers that were just coming of age wanted a cheap, cool car. And what did they build a Mustang from?
Falcon.
The Falcon.
They built from the Falcon.
So this was a beautiful exercise for Ford to take their single cheapest, most affordable car, make the skin a little bit prettier, make it a little bit more high performing, and turn it out to the masses. So both very successful projects. Which one was the best one that Ford did? Let me know. Thank you.